influences?
Well, I started when I was about 10. And it was a little bit different because it wasn't like I started mixing or any of that stuff, because that was so early. For me, it was just more so being the guy in the neighborhood that provided the music, you know, when anybody had a house party.
Sure.
So you had your 45s, and you would just bring your box of 45 down, and you would literally play one, and when it went off, you would pick the needle up, take it off, put the next one on, and so yeah.
So a selector.
That's it. That's it. So it started there. So it wasn't so much of an influence that made me want to start. It was just kind of like, I thought it would be cool to be the guy that played all the tunes.
And they were your records, or where did they come from?
Well, they were pretty much my brother's records. He was very big into funk, soul, because this was pre-hip hop. So he was really big into just funk and soul music. So, you know, he would just let me borrow his records, and I would play them. As long as I didn't scratch them and brought them back with the coverage, I was good for the next one.
But then you obviously got into DJing. There was a pretty healthy kind of scratch battle scene in Philly at the time, I guess, with the likes of you and Cash Money. And did you guys know each other at the time, hang out with each other, practice together, battle each other? Like, what was it like in Philly at that time?
That was a really big jump. It was kind of like the party scene really exploded in Philly. Like, it was a DJ on every corner. Everybody wanted to be a DJ or wanted to be an MC.
What brought that about, like that shift?
That might have been about 84, 85. And you know, and there were the key places that you would go and play, and the key promoters that would bring you to go play. It was every Friday and Saturday, so it was something to do. And Cash actually didn't live in Philadelphia. He lived a little bit outside of Philadelphia. And I was actually on the scene a little bit before he was. And then when he came, you know, like I said, all that does is just brings a lot of healthy competition. We never it was never a thing of battling. I think more, it was kind of like, okay, Cash does the Wind Ballroom on Friday, Jeff does the Hotel Philadelphia on Saturday. It was just always something really good. And him and I weren't the only two. It was a bunch of really good DJs in Philly at that time.
Such as?
Oh my God, it was God Lightning Rich. It was the original Spin Bad. It was Cosmic Kev, who's still around now. It was Grandmaster Nell. You know, it's funny because these guys were just as big as, you know, guys like me and Cash, you know, at that time. You know, and it was a radius. You know, it was kind of like you were known in South Jersey, you were known in Delaware, you were known, you know, pretty much in Philadelphia.
And Cash has been credited with turning the turntables around, like battle style everywhere.
Yeah.
And when I had Questlove spinning with us, he was talking to me about having a deck set up Philly style, but they're both one side of the mixer. Does that make sense?
No, that's not Philly. That's not Philly style. Cash was the guy that started turning the turntable sideways. You know, I've never seen anybody do that. And the funny thing is, I was really late on turning mine sideways. I was so used to, because you know what it is. I used to needle drop a lot. Like, I was really fast at catching records with just dropping the needles, and it's very hard to drop the needle with the tone arm at the top. So until I was ready to kind of give up needle dropping, you know, because there were so many more advantages that you could do with turning the turntables like Cash turned them. You know, I was really late on that. Now I have to correct that. Most of the DJs in Philly, which was very weird to me and Cash, spun with the turntables on one side.
So what it is like you've got the mixer on one side and then both turntables would be on one side of the mixer, rather than having a turntable either side and the mixer in the middle. They were both either on the left or on the right, I guess, depending on which hand you're more dexterous with.
And that was just weird to me.
It was weird to me as well when Questlove turned up and was like, yeah, we need to move the turntables across.
Yeah, he still plays like that.
Right.
It's like, okay.
Courses. And the Philly music scene itself, with like Philadelphia International, Schoolie D, did those kind of things have an influence on you and your sound?
Well, I mean, that was all around the same time, you know, with Schoolie D. You know, the Philly International sound, or just that whole movement, had an impact on everybody, because it was almost kind of like growing up in Detroit during Motown, that, you know, you don't realize that all of these big records that are coming out of Philly are being played all around the world. Because we're not going around the world, we're solely in Philly. So we're used to that, you know, and having those Thanksgiving or Christmas mornings when Kenny Gamble would get on a radio station and be the guest DJ, we were used to that, not realizing that that was a super treat. Because, you know, he would play stuff that was unreleased, and, you know, and just talking about the experience of, you know, Philly International, you didn't really appreciate that until we kind of got a little bit older. But, I mean, you know, it was kind of like in Philly, it was I want to say Eddie D, who was on Pop Art, and then you had the Steady B and the Schoolie D's, and, you know, it was a hip-hop scene that was growing in Philly. You know, basically because everything that we knew about hip-hop was in New York. And I even tell people, with the whole DJ culture being what it was in Philly, was basically how we thought it was in New York. We thought New York was everybody loved the DJ, and it was the exact opposite. It was in Philly, the DJ was the prominent one, and the MC just big up the DJ. And in New York, it was switched around. That it was kind of like the DJ was the guy who played the background, and it was all about the MC.
Philly got it right in my mind.
That's right. That's right.
So, production credits on like the early albums aren't like super clear. So, I wanted to ask, when did you start making beats? How much did you have to play in albums like this, like musically? You know.
Well, that's a whole nother issue.
Credits, right?
I mean, I started making beats 1980, you know, just getting the drum machine. Once you kind of understood how some of these records were made, you know, it started off with a Mattel Sensonic drums, and, you know, it went to, you know, you try to find $200 to buy a Roland 606, and if you were daring and wanted to try to learn how to program, you bought a 303 and synced the two together so you could play bass lines. There was a guy, if any of you get a chance to search the internet, it was a guy in Philadelphia who was probably one of the biggest notorious graffiti writers, but he went by the name of Kid Destroy, and Kid Destroy was probably 25 years before his time, because at a time when everybody would DJ and come with records, Kid Destroy came with a guitar case, and when you opened up the case, it was 3 Roland 606s, 2 303 bass lines. It was a little mixer, a little keyboard, and a speaking spell, and a Merlin. And I don't know if you know what the Merlin game was. It's like 4 colors, that when you hit the color, it lights up, and then you hit 2, and then you have to follow it. And he would do, he could do the entire party with beats that he made. He would use the speaking spell to spell things out. Like, it was the most incredible thing that I've ever seen in my life. But he was the guy that made me want to grab a drum machine, because, you know, it was kind of like before then, you had no idea how people were making these records, and this guy would show up and basically make these records in front of you. So, you know, just from learning how to program and, you know, making your own beats and kind of scratching on top of it, it was, you know, when Will and I got together, we used to perform Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble off of Moments in Love. Like, I would play Moments in Love, and he would rap Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble, and I would watch everybody sit there with their mouth hung on every word that he said. And I basically went and programmed a beat to Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble. I threw the I Dream of Jeannie speech in, because it wasn't like you could sample, so I had to play it in and play it out. And he took the demo tape to a record company and came back, and next thing you know, these 2 guys were sitting in my mom's basement telling me how they wanted to put out the record. And, you know, back then you just kind of like, man, listen, I'll be able to tell my kids one day I made a record. Like, none of this was a career or, you know, this was kind of like, I got a job at Roy Rogers and I cook chicken, and, you know, this is just my side hobby, and I'll be able to tell my kids that we made records.